Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine. I have started vlogging after brutal Russian invasion to my free and beautiful country Ukraine. In my daily videos, I update you about what is real life in Ukraine, and of course I'm always glad to answer your questions about our history, culture, language or whatever interests you. And if you're new to the channel, you support Ukraine, please subscribe because we have to witness our joint victory, Ukrainian victory together. And today I want to speak about tremendous changes in Russian informational policy concerning Ukrainian counteroffensive, which also prove that we are successful and on the way to our victory. Honestly, the informational part of this war was extremely important from the very beginning in 2014. And actually, in 2014, Ukraine was losing this informational war. Why? Because Russia traditionally had lots of platforms, it had lots of money to invest into this informational policy, and many people all over the world decided not to get deep into what's going on in Crimea, who is responsible for that, and it was more comfortable for them to close the eyes and hope that Russia will have what it wants and stop on that. But of course, it is never true with terrorists and bullies, and Russia continued. And honestly, on the very first day of this war, one of the weird feelings was a feeling of relief that I had, because finally I realized that the world sees what Russia is, that the world realizes Ukrainians were not just shouting, exaggerating or lying. Finally, all the masks fell down and people were able to see what Russia is. And today the whole world that values human life, freedom, choice, diversity sees what real Russia is. And of course, today it is a terrorist state with a very similar to Nazi philosophy. But at the very beginning, they were trying to describe Ukraine as a country that does not exist, does not have history, does not have people, does not have language, does not have anything, just like, I don't know, a rebellious part of Russia or something like that. But this war proved that we are extremely united and we are a strong nation. And we are able to protect our borders, even facing war with the largest country in the world that has lots of old Soviet weapons. And they planned they will have blitzkrieg, they will take Kyiv, and people will meet them with flowers. We all know that we met them with flowers, but these were plastic flowers that typically people put on graves in Ukraine. So like this wreaths. I know it's not environmentally friendly, but this was a common joke at the beginning of this war when we heard what Putin's plan was and how we felt about that. So at the very beginning of this war, the idea of Russia was to create the image of Ukraine, a non-existent country that is not able to protect itself and wants to join Russia. It all failed because it turned out that we are a strong country with beautiful history and really united people, that we are able to communicate with the world, and the world saw us and heard us and supported us. And today, a year and a half after the beginning of this war, Russia has to speak about counteroffensive. Russia has to speak about losses of the territories that it temporarily occupied. And I'm sure that in a couple of months we will hear about the Crimea liberated and other things are possible. And they are building up arguments and facts that can suit both Putin's doctrine and the losses that they encounter in the battlefields in Ukraine. So, first of all, these signs that demonstrate Russians' failures in this war are the fact that Putin and Shoigu on press conferences, in interviews, talk about Ukrainian counteroffensive. They do not pretend this does not happen. Even denying successes and not concentrating on Russian losses, they have to say we have to wait how this counteroffensive finishes. I am sure Putin could not believe a year ago such phrase will come out of his dirty mouth. Honestly, he believed he will take Kyiv in 3 days, and now, a year and a half after the start of this war, he speaks about the future of Russia that depends on Ukrainian counteroffensive. You know, I have the socks that say, don't with Ukraine. So this is actually the message that perhaps all of them heard. Of course, for narcissists and dictators, it's really difficult to accept this reality, and they will continue distorting it. But they are talking already that the future of Russia, the future of this war or special military operation depends greatly on counteroffensive. And we feel that too. So please continue supporting us and don't get tired with this war. We can relax only after we win and we see what happens inside Russia. Also, other people like Prigozhin, like Girkin, who are this Russian orcs, but connected to military, private military armies and like more experienced, they openly speak about Ukrainian success and how unbelievably strong and resilient Ukrainian army turned to be. And they also speak about the negative sides inside Russian army, and there are many. Of course, nobody says the numbers of people who died in Ukraine for no reason, just like with this evil purpose to erase Ukrainian culture, but instead we are constantly killing hundreds and thousands of Russian soldiers. And they have to speak, and from time to time news appear, and even in my comments I have people from Russia who say that, for example, lots of people disappear from small depressive towns and nobody knows where they are because like media does not cover war in Ukraine the way it should be, but people are starting to guess that something goes wrong. And of course, a huge loss in the informational war and informational policy was actually the liberation of Kherson. They could not explain it, and many of the explanations that they provide, like a gesture of goodwill, come on, you came to kill us, to demilitarize, to denazify, to occupy, and then a gesture of goodwill, escape from the territories that you cannot control. So in general, all this Russian talks, all this chaos that exists in Russian brains is reflected in the things people talk, both on media. Let's forget about their propagandists, but their propagandists also had to change the general narrative, because at the beginning where they were talking about strong Russia that is winning, and now they are talking about evil Ukraine and West that are destroying Russia, and they are totally dissatisfied with what is happening. Their political leaders, they have started talking about Ukraine. I cannot say the word respect because it's not about Russia, but they've realized like whom they are dealing with. And those who are professional in the military, even within Russian army, they speak about losses, failures, and this total a lower quality of Russian orgs that they actually expected. I don't know what's going on in Russian society. I do not follow YouTube channels of soft propaganda and various vloggers who speak from Georgia and so on. But in general, I'm sure that people are in panic because they get this picture of Russia that is invincible, and then they hear Putin talking about like the future of Russia depends on Ukrainian counteroffensive. Many things can change and we have to adapt to that. Ukrainians are really good at adaptation because that's the only way to survive. You remember how we quickly bought generators after blackouts started because of Russia terrorist attacks, nothing else. If they attack your infrastructure, that's terrorism. And Russians are not that good. And they are not adapting quickly. They want to travel into the past and we want to build our normal future. So we have to start thinking about this future with a totally different Russia, with a weak Russia, smaller Russia, many new countries appearing on that territory. And I don't know why political leaders, global political leaders are so much afraid to talk about that. Because of nuclear war, come on, with Putin, and the fear and threat of nuclear war is extremely active, and Russia is big and united. So maybe divided, smaller Russia and many new beautiful countries and nations are a solution to this problem. Let me know, what do you think? Let me know, would you like to have a stream this Saturday? Because I feel like talking with you, and any ideas for the topic of this stream in comments would be very much appreciated. Thank you for buying me coffees. Actually, I drank cocoa today. Thank you for becoming my patrons. I'm really grateful for that, but most importantly for your support of my country, Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!